we're just going to begin today's session with some nice light spine openers. I'm going to circle sweep the arms up and round behind me, and then round and back. Today's session is going to be a full body approach to mobility, starting on the ground. We're mostly going to be working on the floor, supinated, so face up for a wee while, and we'll work through some full movements as well. Just notice, can we plant the opposite shoulder on the ground and visualizing moving the rib cage until that top corner of your body is completely flushed into the ground. And come back. Pushing yourself up or just changing sides. If you're not worried, if you've got your camera off, then you can't just change sides. If you're me and you want to face it, then getting up and moving across. So I'm going to circle from the opposite side now. Lovely. And it is nice for me to see you with your cameras on, because it means if I see anything that I'm not sure about technique-wise, I can give you some easy modifications that will make a big difference. Go round, overhead, and back again. Big circle. Back. Got 3 to go. You might want to try taking your gaze with you as well. I can already feel on this side that it's a lot easier than the other one was. Good, last one. Hopefully you've got a nice smooth floor. Good, and then coming to face up position, so lying facing the ceiling, wrists pulling back to the floor. Now you want to make sure your hips are in a nice tucked position so there's not a big gap between your back and the floor. Ground your low back, scoop your hips underneath, and then aiming to bring wrists as well as elbows to the ground. I'm going to slide them up overhead and pull down again. So I'm checking how my overhead mobility is. Going to be really important if you're doing shoulder presses or anything like that. Down, reaching up, down. Perfect. Notice where it feels tighter. If it's in the top, it could be tightness in the shoulders, mid back. If it's in the bottom, it's possibly the chest that you're feeling there is a bit resistant. Could also be mid back, however. And tucking the chin. 2 to go. And last one. Brilliant. Now rolling onto your side and then pushing yourself up to a kneeling position. So coming into our quadruped position, I'm going to set my knees hip width apart, tuck my toes slightly just to anchor my lower body, and then bring one elbow onto the floor. From here, hand finds the base of the neck with the opposite hand, and then I'm going to lift and open through that elbow twist. Peeling it back. Forward. That shoulder open. Nice. We're going to do 4 more here. So 8 on this side. We'll take a rest in child's pose and then we'll change sides. It kind of should feel like hard work as well. So keep trying to squeeze that elbow back. And then taking a child's pose, pushing your hips back to your heels, relaxing through the arms, forehead finds the floor. Exhaling down to the ground. And coming back up again, and let's do that on the opposite side. So elbow to the floor, hips are above the knees, and from there, just observing because it feels tighter on the side, is it easier? Lots of nice twists to get the spine moving. Shoulders and chest over here. We're going to look a little bit more at the chest. In a moment. 2 to go. And last one. All right, so I'm going to face on for this next one. Same position with the hips, and then with the arms, I'm going to reach them out to opposite corners. So fingertips pointing away, and I'm going to prepare to drop one shoulder down and bend into one elbow, looking up over that bent elbow, and then changing sides. So my hips are elevated. I've got my knees separated. Yeah, bending into one side, lengthening the arm, that's the one. Make as much space for your chest as you need to. So don't be afraid to take your arms a bit wider if that feels good. And just notice how the shoulder wants to drop in towards the floor. Can you keep it back so that the chest gets that really good stretch? So if you've been just chilling out over the weekend, sitting on the sofa, hanging out with your friend, your partner, flatmate, whatever it might be, then chest can get quite tight because we're kind of sitting with the shoulders rounding forwards. So this is a really nice one for that. Excellent. From here, we're going to do our last kind of shoulder focused opener before we start to move into some slightly bigger movements. I'm going to face my palms upwards, lengthen my arms forwards. You can go with a puppy or a child pose here. They make a difference to me, and just whatever you find more comfortable. So if there's child, my hips are sitting on my heels. It's a little bit more relaxing than a puppy. Just notice how it feels in your lower back. It's relaxing for you. Otherwise, puppy, knees above hips, palms up. And I'm going to try and lift the arm and then reset and change sides. Lifting the arm, resetting. Nice light hover. Down again. Keep the body nice and stiff if you can. Perfect. And we're just going to do one more on each side. Notice the elbow wanting to bend. Try to lock it out. Awesome. So we're going to move into some slightly bigger movements now. This is where the hair goes up because we're going down dog. Otherwise you get all up in your face, all up in your mouth. So getting that out of the way. We're going to go down dog and then up dog. So if you feel like you want to recap the movement, follow me. I'm going to walk you through it. Otherwise, maybe you just want to zone out and as usually go through it. But I always find that checking in with form, even with these movements, goes a really long way. So long arms from wrists all the way to hips. Bend into the knees as much as I need to in order that I can push my armpits, shoulders towards thighs, and it's not causing my legs to shake. If the legs are shaking, maybe go for a light heel lift as well. It should be approachable, shouldn't cause you to tense up more. From here, I'm going to inhale, lift my body up to the ceiling, trying to feel every single part of my spine, each vertebrae, then the hips drop down. I'm going to elevate my chest, yearning it through between the arms, squeezing the hips and keeping them lifted off the ground. Strong brace of the core to push back. I'm tucking chin, head as I come back to that first position. So we're going to do 3 more reps here. Take a big breath, rise up through the spine. Get it like a snake, so you want to feel each part of that snake as much as possible. Strong arms push the floor away. And coming back. Now, these can be quite tiring actually when you're spending a lot of time thinking about your body. So if you want to take a break between these next 2, come down to child's pose, make any adjustments, take a big breath before you go back in. Squeezing glutes to protect the low back while it's in that deep extended position. And the last one. Rising, 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 rising. And the last thing, up is the head. Last one. Awesome. Coming into child's pose, just take a couple breaths there, absorbing all that good movement, all that good breath work against the floor so we can take it with us into some more openers. And we're going to come up onto the hands. I'm going to go for a nice long lunge. If you struggle to get the leg forward, you can stay on the knee and then assist it with a hand. Otherwise, if you feel comfortable to do so, coming up into a plank position with the hands under shoulders and just dragging that leg forward to the outside of the arm. Chest goes up nice and tall, and from here I'm going to drop the back leg and go for a light twist, looking over the shoulder. Nice, and then coming back to center, tuck toes, step back into hinging side. Nice long lunge, chest proud, and then looking over that shoulder, taking a twist. You should feel that nice stretch in the outside of the hips from the bent leg, as well as the hip flexor of the leg that's dropping towards the ground. Maybe even up into the obliques. And if you notice, that bit's really tight, have we think about how you spend the time over the weekend. So what we're doing, maybe that's as a result of that. Were you quite still? Less about what you were doing, more about what you weren't doing. We're going to do one more on each side. Has anyone seen our bags? How cute are they? We're super excited about them. Although there might not be any left by the time Lynette and I are done with them because I think we're keep them all to ourselves. And now, tucking one heel behind you, I'm going to come up into this half kneeling position with my knee nice and pushed open to the side. Reaching in with the same side arm, so if you've got your left leg forward, you're going to bring left arm to the inside of the foot. From there, I'm going to reach underneath and then reach up and open. You might be on the fingertips, and that's cool. Or you might have a block there. So this will stretch out your mid-back, but actually where most people are going to feel it the most is the inside of the thigh and the adductors, right? That's where I feel it. And the further you reach underneath, you might get a nice stretch with your rear shoulder as well. So 2 more reps here. Really nice one if you've been doing any lateral lunges, sumo deadlifts or squats, any wide stances. And then coming up from here, I'm going to keep my knee exactly where it is and the toes of the other foot as well. And I'm just going to push forward and back. So you should again feel that in the hips in the same area, maybe in the opposite hip, but also we're getting a nice stretch of the ankle and calf. Something I've noticed is if my calves are super tight and I, heaven forbid, decide to go for a run, then I can really feel that throughout. It's quite frustrating. And also if I'm doing a squat with the barbell, I notice that I have a tendency to lean forward if my ankles are quite tight. We don't want that. Can't be having any of that. Okay, nice one. So switching on over to the other side, setting up that half kneeling position with that little kickstand heel behind you and reaching inside with the opposite arms on my feet. Begin to move through it. After a few breaths, making your observations of self-assessment. Even tightness or looseness on both sides. You can always feel it as maybe your body when you start to a little bit. Definitely noticed it myself. One more time. Ankle shift here or light press, possibly feeling that through the hip, otherwise in the calf and ankle. Nice, what a good way to start the day as well, right? Especially if you're working from home or if you know it's going to be a busy start to the week. Really helps you feel like you're on top of it. Really helps you get ahead of that day. A couple of you have mentioned that possibly afternoon or lunchtime class would be quite nice. So any suggestions or comments on that, you can feel free to post it on our group page or send us an email, let us know what you think. It's all about what works for you guys as well as us. Perfect. Now coming on back to the floor, you're going to take your knees nice and wide for this next one. Knees. Ankles are going to kick out in line with the knees there. However, if you usually find frog pose uncomfortable, then you can draw them in a little bit closer and tuck the toes instead. You're only human, so frog pose is maybe sometimes going to be a bit uncomfortable. And from here, I'm going to reach underneath with one arm. Shoulder to the floor, all the way through, and back and change sides. Here. Getting a nice twist, and actually this is less about the shoulder stretch or the twist. You take your time, nice and slow. About the twist here in the spine and the stretch in the shoulder, and more about what happens when we reach through to the other side. You're going to notice the weight shift through the hips, and you can really feel that stretch leaning through one side. If you have been doing your upper body work, which you all should be, hopefully, you will feel that nicely in the back of the shoulders as well as they separate. So now one more on each side. Coming up, perfect. Tucking toes, bringing the knees together, sweeping your legs around to seated position. I'm going to set up in a nice straddle style position. Hopefully you've got enough room there lengthways. So already people are going to be thinking, oh, I can't get my legs that wide. They're not that wide. So don't expect to start in your end range is what I really want to say here. Start by bending the knees actually, lift them up, and then step out onto your heel. I like to imagine that someone is pulling my knees apart, that someone has got my big toes and they're squeezing them back, and that's going to help me not just expect more range, but actually create it by engaging with the muscles of the outer hips and inner thighs. From here, I'm going to sit nice and tall. If you're already rounding your back, it might be time to grab a block or a pillow and just pop that under your hips for a little bit of support there. The angle. From here, I'm going to reach to the inside, up and over, back to the center, and then I'm going to change sides. So it's a really nice distraction, the side bend from that hip opening in your straddle. But it's also a really good stretch for the QL, so the muscles in your lower back and obliques as well. I previously had super tight obliques in QL, and it's caused issues for my hips, and I can feel that my hips are really tight. So just bear that in mind. It's always worth taking a full body approach. So you don't miss out on anything like that. So 3 more on each side. And now we're not just doing the movement, we're starting to think more about how we can get into it, how we can create bigger range. So possibly the heels are starting to slide out more, or you're squeezing your toes back a little bit more. Maybe you're reaching further towards the ground, further towards your foot. Possibly the legs are lengthening, heels are lengthening, and one more on each side. This one's the shoulder as well, right? Awesome, perfect. Keep your feet together, come on down to your back and roll them down. We're going to look at hamstring now from a prone position as promised. It's quite nice to finish in this position after quite a lot of dynamic movement. So I'm going to grab up the back of my hamstring, back of my leg here, the thigh, and make sure my hips are tucked under the waist, so a little bunny hop if you need to. Grabbing behind the leg, pushing out the heel, and drawing the knee to chest. Pushing out the heel, knee to chest. And just notice when you feel movement in the lower back on extending that leg. Just be a sign there of maybe having tightness in the rear hip. Pushing out the heel, drawing knee to chest, extending that leg. Feeling that kind of shaking sensation, that reluctance. Time. And we're going to change sides there. Try to relax your shoulders. You might notice they want to jump off the ground there. So knee bends, pushing through the foot. Knee bends. Nice. Halfway. And last two. And then we're going to finish where we started, which is just by taking a breath, moving or being still. So I'm going to body doing things that feel good, then there, absolutely. So some popular options for this are knees holding in together. You really feel that in the low back, nice opening there. You can go with feet together and knees falling apart. As we began in that kind of star pose, maybe arms are together overhead or on your belly. Or as I say, maybe you're fluttering through some soft stretches. Just checking in, are we breathing from the lower portion of the torso and the throat and the neck? Just gauge it, judging yourself on it. Okay. And just 30 seconds left there, however many breaths that might be. Not rushing them. And thanks again for prioritizing you and for joining me for this class. All right, and if you are still beginning to move, if you're moving already, doing a good morning stretch that we like to do, we've just woken up. And to see. Joining this morning. As I say, if you have any kind of suggested times or things that you've been thinking about class-wise, you know where our inbox is, you know how to find us. We always like to kind of hear what you have to say. So hope to hear from somebody later in the week and have an awesome day. Bye.